Everyone, this is Dr. James Davis from Northville High School, the IB Diploma Program Coordinator, and I thought a nice way for us to share some information about the diploma program here at Northville High School and the application process and the materials online would be to try to offer a recording, Zoom recording, right, for common to today's age about the information available. And then, of course, the follow-up will be a live Zoom for those sophomores who are interested in the program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a quick tour of the information that is available online about the diploma program. In particular, this is the Northville homepage. Hopefully the screen share works in this recording in the way that I expected. And as we look at this homepage, we scroll to the bottom and we look through the schools, and then we see separately there is an icon or moniker here for the International Baccalaureate. We click on that button, it takes us to the splash page. Here there's information specifically about the middle years program and the diploma program. I'm going to focus in particular on the diploma program. So I'm going to go ahead and click here to this right frame. Right, on this now the diploma program homepage with the NPS website, we see some information, and I'm going to update some of this information this week, and that's why I thought it would be timely to share this video. First of all is a scheduling worksheet. This coming fall and with the 2023 cohort, which sounds a long way away, but it's not for those pending sophomores. There will be no changes to the course options that we will have in the diploma program here in Northville. The application will remain the same as well. Of course, I will update those dates and the information in terms of when everything will be due. I will click back on those momentarily. As you look at this homepage as well, you will see that there's a program flyer that we distributed last year to the community and to the schools, offers some quotes from the graduates, our alumni who do have an active kind of alumni system, and certainly highlights a lot of the questions and kind of pieces that oftentimes would be covered in an opening session to offer students and families information about the diploma program. As well, there's an informational brochure and some information about college performance, etc. But we're going to come back and really focus on these first two momentarily. Then if you kind of scroll through, and I will in this frame here, the contact information, of course, that's how you can email me, Ms. Couchman, Mr. Stetson are our CAS coordinators, Ms. Correll are the extended essay coordinator once the program is underway, or if you had any specific questions about those aspects of the core prior to the program itself. The curriculum is described at length here. Certainly what makes the diploma program a program is the idea that over this 2-year period, all students take 6 subjects, 5 from what I'll call kind of the 5 core, and I'll share that momentarily. And likewise, 3 of those classes have to be what IB calls the higher level, which means that they are 2-year classes that run for that duration of the full 2 years. And likewise, they take 3 SLs, and 2 of those can often are 1-year classes or can be 1-year classes depending on the selections the student makes. So when you look at kind of the Northville High School course outline and the way our bell schedule works and the way that our kind of calendar works, we do have 7 alternating AB classes over a 2-day period. So if there are 6 classes total that students must take over those 2 years, there's automatically 1 open spot each year for them to take another course or another elective. And as mentioned, some students opt for 1 1-year SL or potentially 2 1-year SLs, and then that frees up their schedule even a little bit more for some other electives outside the DP program. So in other words, they're not in IB classes all day long, but certainly they kind of majority of their courses each semester for those 2 years would be the diploma program. Likewise, some students do opt for 4 HLs and 2 SLs, so that is an option, and that certainly is allowable as well. So as we look at this page a little bit more, I mentioned the coordinators. Here's an overview of that extended essay of theory of knowledge and CAS, the creativity, activity, and service. The extended essay is part of that work that the full diploma program students complete. Certainly, that's another aspect that universities fondly and think about in terms of what that student is able to think and do and produce. And there's a brief description there. The Theory of Knowledge course is an epistemology course, really focused on thinking and knowing, and a cross-curricular interdisciplinary class. We teach it a little bit differently here at Northville than some other programs. Every kind of program has their kind of unique approach to handling the core. With our work, we have students meet once a week during seminar for 30 minutes. That is the goal. This year we had to meet every other week during seminar for an hour, but effectively it's about a 30-minute commitment per week during seminar over the 2 years for that theory of knowledge work. So we'd rather capture them kind of for a shorter period of time, online currently, or with in-seat over those 2 years than have them take it for a shorter duration. Likewise, we have the creativity, activity, and service hours and reflections and goals, right, that they work towards these learning targets and reflections that are involved in terms of that program. So the whole goal, and you see kind of a model here, are for students to, the whole goal, I guess, is for students to have this robust kind of interdisciplinary, interconnected, and purposeful run at their final 2 years in high school. And so if we look at this diagram in particular, you'll see at the top, all students take a studies in language and literature, which is predominantly here their English course. They take to the left a language acquisition course, which is a language B course. Here we offer a number of options. Likewise, they take an individuals and societies course. Typically in the United States, we call that a social studies course. You see mathematics there in the lower right, and you see sciences there in the lower left, and then you see the arts down at the bottom. So when I say the 5 core, I mean everything save the arts. Many students do take that group 6 or the arts, but I will explain momentarily too that some students go up in some of the other pieces we're here, like taking 2 sciences or taking 2 classes in the individuals and societies. So this explains all of this a little bit more. There's also some IB and DP, the DP and AP course briefs down there at the bottom, excuse me, if you want to know a little bit more about their classes. Of course, the course catalog for Northville is probably the best place to get that specific overview and comparison. As far as assessment, that's certainly a question that families have and students have. What happens over that 2-year period is all 6 classes will earn a mark out of 7. So the highest mark in that case would be a 42. The IB also marks the extended essay and TOK, which can be an additional 3 points. So the highest number of points a student could ever earn is 45. The passing grade to receive the diploma from the IB is a 24. So when we kind of back into that, 4 in each of the classes is kind of that low pass. And as I said here, I'll update these dates on the website. That's why I want to kind of point to what is here now, and then you'll see some changes as we kind of move forward. The advantage of doing the DP is something that oftentimes people ask rather than taking a course or more, and we support both, to be candid. So there are a large number of students here at Northville that do choose to take a diploma class, so that which makes them course students or diploma courses, and not do the full program, but kind of take those classes like they do with the AP that in which they would have the most interest, and that works well for them. We also strongly encourage the full diploma, as it does engage the student in that robust interdisciplinary work, and it also puts them in a different category, or slightly different category, I guess, to be fair, for the college admissions, because those colleges know that they have pushed themselves across subject areas in college readiness ways, and that they have worked in terms of CAS and TOK and the extended essay. So quite a bit here, including kind of the end of year 2 exam schedule. So our 2021 students in particular have some information that they see here. Students do receive those marks. Those marks, in many cases, like AP, do transform themselves into either college credit or college placement. So that is useful. And then much like the AP, that's college specific. So it depends on the kind of tier of the university, what class, what credit, and also the programs within those universities, how those might work. So as far as kind of involvement in the diploma program, and we now shift to the frequently asked questions. You see this was updated in September. Here's a place that you could go in and kind of see quite a bit about Northville and about the ways in which the diploma program works. I know I'm kind of scrolling through, but I know that in here in particular, number 4 are the benefits of the diploma program. So I think that would be interesting for you to read. There's the credit piece, number 5, and maybe some unique places that students have gone, the curricular components. So there's quite a bit here, more about the core, a kind of larger explanation of that in terms of what I just began. So there's a lot here, but what I wanted to try to move towards is that what we really want to think about are kind of who are the students who would be most interested in doing the diploma program and who would be the best fit. Well, I do want to say that we try to make the admissions process as open as possible. So a student who is interested in the diploma program, we want to try to create a 2-year study for them that not only fits their interests, but fits their abilities to be successful. So that is something that we really try to work through. And that's part of that application process and are getting to know the students during that process so we can make those best fit decisions with them. As you see, we are successful in the diploma program in terms of the rates and in terms of the scores. So the students leave Northville well prepared through their diploma program studies. But the numbers, the kind of opportunities, they're wonderful. But what really happens is that students who feel that a student-based instruction, students who feel they're kind of leading their own work and their own inquiry, students that are either comfortable in class discussions or doing experiments or want to be more comfortable in class discussions and doing experiments and writing about those, that's where the IB program really kind of finds itself in a niche academically. The students will write in their math classes. The students will come up with topics and create what are called internal assessments in all of their classes. And so as we look at that and as we think about how that works, it certainly means that it is a student-driven program where they learn how to think for themselves and on their own with the guidance of the class and with the guidance of the teachers that are there. So this document you see, I'm just kind of continually scrolling through, talks about how we support the students. It does have some kind of outdated information about how we often meet face to face for some of these information meetings. So this year, that will be a little bit different. So I'm going to return back to where we were. And you see, as I mentioned, that there's quite a bit. The IBDP Corner is a weekly blog that I try to release. That's where this video is going to go in order to share information as well, other links to prior presentations. So there's a lot online, and that might be quite overwhelming. So if I was a sophomore interested, and if you have listened this far, if I was a sophomore family or a student interested in the diploma program, where would I begin? Well, I would begin with this scheduling worksheet. And as I mentioned, I'll update this for the current group as needed. Here, a student would look and identify their 3 or 4 HL classes, their 2 SLs. So when they look at the courses that follow in the list of courses, what classes interest them the most? Certainly, the English course is offered at the HL level predominantly, so that fills one section, and then they want to think about what other classes they would want to study for those 2 years. And so that's where this kind of breaks down. The group 1 is that English. If we have a bilingual student who does have kind of a mother tongue language that's also dominant, we could look at that as an option for group 1. That is supposed to be the dominant language in the household, which is why we offer English, and we offer English at the HL. Group 2 are those language B options. Here we're fortunate that we have French, German, Mandarin, and Spanish all as options for students in group 2. And I do want to add here that we do have other options for students if they didn't matriculate in a language in a way that IB would be kind of accessible to them. We do have options for a full diploma student to take some Umoja classes, which include kind of a restart or an opening in French, Spanish, and Mandarin, and that's called ab initio in terms of IB. Group 3, we offer SL and HL psychology, SL and HL history, and you see some notes there about some of the credits, especially for the history for graduation. Likewise, full diploma students, especially if they're not taking an online language, we would want to limit those online classes so that we can have as much mentoring as possible. But in terms of group 3, Pomoja, which is that outside online course vendor, offers business management, economics, ITGS, which students can look up a little bit more on that Pomoja website. Predominantly, we've had students who choose to do a group 3 outside of our own building take that business management class, and that means a couple students a year interested in that course in particular. Group 4, we offer biology and chemistry, both at HL levels for that 2-year level, for that 2-year run, excuse me. And then we have the sports exercise and health science, which is a 1-year science. More information here about that. The sports exercise health science, for instance, is a science credit. And then there are some prerequisites, especially for the HL chemistry. There are no Pomoja options for group 4. Then we look at group 5, and we offer 3 courses. One, the Math SL Applied Mathematics, which is a 1-year SL on the heels of Algebra 2. We offer the SL Math Analysis, which is cross-listed as Calculus, and that comes on the heels of our pre-calculus course. And then we offer the HL Math Analysis, which begins with AP Calc AB in grade 11 and then continues with a cross-listed Honors Calc 2 in grade 12. And then for group 6, we offer film, 1-year film, SL film, and SL or HL visual arts, so it can be a 1-year or 2-year course of study. And so that's where the 6 classes round up over that 2-year program. And then if we go back and when we think about where students often kind of take a 6th class that's not in the arts, we have had a few students, kind of a small handful of students that have taken 2 languages, which is possible. We have kind of quite a bit of students who take the psychology and history courses for group 3. Likewise, we have probably an equal amount of students who end up taking 2 sciences. So not all students end up with kind of this group 6 as film or visual arts. As you see, it could be a second from group 2 to 4. And really that could be a second from group 1 to 4 if we had a student, for instance, who was taking 2 language A's that can supplant that language B. And if that, somebody speaks a language at home fluently and would like to continue that studies academically, then I will change that for the next version. So we also see that, there's other electives, right? And some information that are there. What I really wanted to kind of point out on this page is that that's where I would begin. If I'm going to sit down with a student, I have them fill out, okay, what classes do you think you would be most interested? And if we can fill out 6 classes, or they struggle to kind of limit it, kind of cut it down to 6, that's a good sign. So we want students to be invested and really excited about all 6 of those courses over the 2 years, because that will be part of the program. And I'm probably going quite a bit on time, so I'm going to try to cut it short. What I do want to mention is that what's not visible is the community that's created for these students. Majority of students will spend the time with teachers. We have classes that run for 2 years. We have classes where the teachers split that over year 1 or year 2. I'm involved with the students as a TOK teacher for that 2-year process. I'm involved as coordinator as well. The students, while they see predominantly those students in the full diploma program, if they take that option throughout those 6 classes, they see a mixture of other students throughout the day. So we typically have about 400 students, I think is my quick math, that take an IB class or more. So it kind of shrinks the school, kind of creates kind of a way in which they learn, the names and faces of other students who are involved in the program and really kind of feel connected to them, but it's not a school within a school or anything like that. There are certainly Northville High School students who are involved in an IB program. And so I think that's an important message that's different than the way that some other schools might offer that. We want them to get the Northville High School diploma, absolutely. We want them to be involved in Northville High School activities, clubs and sports, right? All those things that might fit into their day, band, choir. We try to make as much of this work, especially with scheduling, as we can for students who want to do it all. And so that's what I wanted to try to message out. This would kind of be my opening spiel. If we had a face-to-face information session, so I thought I could kind of cut to the chase and get some of that out there. And then when we have a Zoom, hopefully we can kind of dive in and see where the questions fall and what some thoughts might be. In the meantime, I will update this for that 2023 cohort. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to stop the recording.